But it still, as adult me, is very exciting today. So let's rewind. I am 13 years old, and I have always been a huge fan of pop culture. I love all things Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, you name it. As a 13-year-old, my room was decked out in all this stuff, right? I even had Britney gel pens and NSYNC pencils.
All five?
All five. This is back when they were the whole gang. So I don't know what it was about pop culture that just made me so engrossed in it, but I loved dancing around my room when I was little, memorizing moves and dances, and memorizing all the songs, all my favorite pop songs, and all the lyrics, such that I still know them by heart today. So, for those of you who know me, this explains a lot of my behavior. So, you can imagine in that context, my joy as a 13-year-old, when I was told that Justin Timberlake was going to be coming to London, which is where I was living at the time, to be performing his Justified World Tour at Wembley Stadium. And remember, this is the era where Justin branched out, spun out from NSYNC, with the hits like Cry Me a River, Senorita, all of those good ones. Songs that really defined that era of my life as a 6th grader, and probably, again, still today. So you can imagine the joy and the happiness of hearing this news. But it gets better. I hear that our very generous family friend, who then sort of became sort of like a fairy godmother, Willy Wonka type figure in my life, where like just awesome things would happen around him. He said, "You guys have 4 tickets to go see Justin perform live at Wembley Arena." What? Like, no way. So I was so excited. So I could pick a friend to come with me, and my dad and my little sister came, so the 4 of us were so excited. We're getting on the tube. It's a really, really great, rainy day in London, but we're on the tube. We're going to Wembley, and despite the gray raininess of London, the world couldn't have been brighter to me, because I was going to see Justin perform live. But it gets even better, because the tickets we had a VIP access to go see Justin perform soundcheck right before the show, with an intimate group of VIPs. So I was feeling over the moon. We're on the tube, going there, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to see like a private concert before Justin goes live to the whole world. So I'm so excited. So we get off the tube, and we're like getting there early with like our passes on, and we're greeted by all these really official-looking people. Like, they're all dressed in black, and they have walkie-talkies, they have lanyards, they have like passes and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the world that I had dreamed of that happens behind the scenes. This whole pop culture world that I loved. And like going back, I was a kid who loved to read People magazine, Us Weekly, and J14. Those were the magazines that I loved to devour. So this whole world to me was just fascinating. And here I am with a legitimate license to come in and like be greeted by like the official looking people in like their black outfits and their walkie-talkies. It's like, yes, come this way. So we're going this way. And it's me, my dad, my sister, and my friend Gabriella. And then we're going up, and then the manager-looking guy who looks so official because he could, you know, he's this American, very Mr. Manager-looking guy. He could like hold the keys to Justin's tour bus or something like that. He just looked really in the know. And so he like rounds us all up, the select group of people who are going to go into sound check. And he rounds us up, and I'm just feeling so excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is it, like this is true happiness. And then my friend next to me, she whispers under her breath, she's like, Sarah, like look who's standing next to the guy. Like, there's a slender woman with curly, short brown hair, and she's like, that's Justin's mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, Justin's mom? Like, what even, right? And I couldn't believe it. So like, you know, we squeal a little bit under our breath, and we're just so excited, but then we just play cool. So we failed to play cool, but we were trying to go with that. And then we're ushered in by Mr. Manager, who just looks so cool, and we're following him in, and we get to see like Justin Timberlake's his like, you know, lounge room and his dressing room and all the costumes, and we're just like going around. We're like, oh my gosh, wow. And then so once we finish the little tour, we get ushered into the big, vacuous, enormous, empty arena. into the little like section of like the private concert goers. And it feels so cool. And then we look up and like Justin is there in his casuals, in his sneakers, in his jeans, in his shirt. And we just feel so like this situation here, like this intimate group of people getting to see our favorite performer give us this private concert. And I just couldn't contain my joy. So he performs all my favorite songs in this private context. But then it gets even better, because then Justin walks down and he's gonna do a private meet and greet with all of us. But remember, we have our friend Tim, who is the guy who got us the tickets in the first place. And now Tim, he happens to be a very understated, very humble guy who happens to be the big producer behind concerts like Justin and Brittany. And so we're there with him, we're waiting our turn, and Tim like very humbly comes up and is like, hey, Justin, I want you to meet my friends. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm getting personally introduced to Justin Timberlake by a mutual friend. Like, what? Could life even get better than this? So I don't even remember what the conversation went like. It was very short. But I do remember Justin's just sparkling eyes, gentle smile, kind spirit. And he said, you know what, enjoy the show, guys. And we got our picture taken together. And it was a wonderful, joyful moment that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. And that was my moment. There is no further punchline. And I do have a photo if anyone wants to.